Okay, let's dive in. We're going to break down what is, no joke, one of the most powerful mental models for making decisions ever. It was developed by this legendary military strategist, and it's basically a secret weapon that you can use to navigate and even win in this crazy, chaotic world we're living in. So, this quote from General Stanley McChrystal, it just hits the nail on the head. I mean, think about it. A market can shift overnight, right? A supply chain suddenly collapses. A news story goes viral and public opinion just flips in a matter of hours. The world isn't just complicated anymore, it's complex. Everything is connected. And the old ways of doing things, that slow, deliberate planning, they're just not cutting it. And that really brings us to the big question, doesn't it? In a world that is constantly throwing curveballs, how do we adapt? More than that, how do we win? If the old maps don't work anymore, how in the world do we find our way? Well, the answer comes from a pretty unexpected place, a U.S. Air Force colonel named John Boyd. And this guy was more than just a fighter pilot. He was a brilliant, kind of rebellious philosopher-warrior who completely changed military strategy. And his greatest gift to us is this deceptively simple idea called the OODA Loop. So when you first see the OODA Loop, it looks pretty straightforward. OODA. It stands for Observe, Orient, Decide, and Act. It looks like a simple 4-step cycle for making a decision and then, doing something. The steps themselves make perfect sense. First, you observe. You gather information. You see what's actually going on around you. Then, you orient. You try to make sense of it all, to form a mental picture. Based on that picture, you decide what to do. And finally, you act. And as soon as you act, guess what? The loop starts all over again. It's this continuous cycle. But, and this is a big but, if that's all you think the OODA Loop is, you are missing out on its real power. Seriously, that simple little circle, it's not just incomplete, it's actually dangerously misleading. So let's get into the loop's hidden engine. We're about to pull back the curtain on the one part of this model that most people just totally miss, the part that gives the OODA Loop its revolutionary punch. And here it is. This is the big aha moment. On the left, you've got that simple loop we all see online. But on the right, that's John Boyd's actual drawing. It's not a neat little circle at all, is it? It's a mess. It's this complex, interconnected web of feedback loops. And right there, at the very center of it all, is one critical step. So here's the deal, the absolute key to the whole thing, the orient phase. It's what the military calls the Schwerpunkt, the focal point, the center of gravity. Everything else, every single part of this loop, revolves around your ability to orient correctly. Okay, so what does orienting really mean then? It's way more than just, finding north on a compass. For Boyd, it was this intense process of creating and then shattering our old mental models so we can build new ones that actually match reality. It's where everything that makes you comes together. Your culture, your genetics, your past experiences, plus all the new info you're taking in. It's the whole shebang. Now, this idea is a little abstract. I get it. So to make it real, Boyd came up with this brilliant thought experiment. He called it building snowmobiles. And it's the perfect way to understand this art of reorientation. All right, picture this. Imagine you've got a bunch of random parts in front of you. You've got some skis, an outboard motor from a boat, a set of bicycle handlebars, and even the rubber treads from a little toy tank. What is that? Right now, it's just a pile of junk, right? Totally disconnected pieces. But what happens when you start playing with those pieces? When you take these things that seem totally unrelated and you start to imagine how they could fit together in a new way. What new thing could you possibly build from that collection? A snowmobile. Boom, you've just done it. By taking apart your old ideas of what a ski is or what a motor is, and then creatively putting those basic elements back together, you've made something completely new, a new mental model, a new tool that's perfectly built for your current reality. And that little story perfectly shows Boyd's two-step process. First, what he called destructive deduction. That's where you analyze and pull apart your old ways of thinking. Then comes creative induction, where you use those broken down pieces to build a new, better, more accurate model of the world. And in Boyd's own words, a winner is someone who can build snowmobiles when facing uncertainty and unpredictable change. It's that simple. Success isn't about having the right plan from the start. It's about your ability to reorient, to adapt your thinking faster and better than anyone else. So let's take this one step further. How do we use this in a competitive situation? Because the OODA Loop isn't just about understanding the world for yourself, it's about shaping it. It's about winning by controlling the tempo. Think about any competition, business, sports, you name it. The goal is to run your OODA Loop faster and smarter than your opponent. You want your cycle to be fast, agile, proactive. Meanwhile, you want to force them into a loop that is slow, confused, and always reactive. When you can cycle through your loop faster than they can, you actually get inside their decision-making process. Your actions change the world so quickly that what they just observed is already out of date. It forces them into this state of confusion. You know, that moment. That's them struggling to figure out a new reality that you just created. And that's the whole game right there. You create these mismatches between what they expect to happen and what actually happens. Their mental models start to fall apart, and now they're not acting, they're reacting to you. And when they're reacting, you are in control. So, after all that, what's the one thing you really need to walk away with? We can boil this whole powerful, complex idea down into a super simple 3-letter mantra. ABO, always be orienting. That's it. That's the ultimate takeaway. The OODA Loop is not a 4-step checklist you do once. It's a continuous, dynamic practice. The world never stops changing, so you can never, ever stop shattering and rebuilding your understanding of it. All right, let's do a super quick recap. First, the world is complex, and our old ways of thinking just aren't enough. Second, the OODA Loop is your go-to mental model for dealing with all that uncertainty. Third, the Orient phase, your ability to build new mental snowmobiles, is the absolute key. Fourth, you win by getting inside your competition's loop. And finally, your new goal, your new mantra is simple. Always be orienting. And so that really just leaves us with one final question for you to think about. Look at your own life, your job, your personal challenges, whatever. What old assumption, what outdated belief, what mental model do you need to pull apart and start rebuilding today?